What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show, Be the Trader. Today, I have a very special guest. It's someone I respect, someone that helped me out a ton. I joined their program back in the day and got a lot of value out of it. Alex Temiz from My Investing Club, MIC. A lot of you guys know them as. So, Alex, thanks for being here today, my man.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. And should we kind of explain how the story happened just so that people kind of understand the context?
Yeah, man, go ahead. You can explain if you like.
Yeah, I guess it was, what was it? Maybe a couple months ago, you made a YouTube video on MIC kind of giving us like a review or like a feedback or what you thought about it. And it was kind of like a no bullshit thing. You said, I've been everywhere, I've tried everything, and there was really nothing like MIC. And like I really just appreciated the honesty. So you DM me and you were like, hey man, I'm like starting a podcast, like would you want to be on? And I think we kind of just went back and forth a little bit with not really much traction. And then I think it was either you or me that said like, hey, if I get to 50 episodes, like, will you be on? And I was like, yeah, sure. If you get to 50 episodes, I have no problem coming on, man. Like you do a little bit of the work, get and say what you're going to do. And then I'll do my part. And here we are, episode 50.
Here we are, episode 50. So it's awesome. It's awesome. And yeah, for those of you who don't know, I created a video. That's kind of how I started this whole thing. I started doing reviews. I did a review of MIC, and if you haven't seen that, definitely go watch that video. It's on YouTube. It's a great review. But glad to have you on the show, Alex. Glad you're a man of your word, which is awesome to see. But really, I'm glad you're here. And so let's talk about trading. I mean, that's what we're all here about. That's all what we're here about to talk about. So I wanted to see really, where you're at today with your own trading, and what have you seen? We're in coronavirus land, right?
Sure.
We're in coronavirus land. So what have you been noticing in the market lately?
So that's actually a really good question. So let me go with the first part of your question, which is how I've been doing trading. So today is March 11th. So I actually came off having one of my best months of my trading career in February. I had a really, really big trade on Tesla. I was short Tesla in the 840s or 850s area. So basically, we have a setup at MIC called the first red day setup. And basically, if you have like a chart of Tesla, you could see that it went from like 300 all the way to 900. And I kept telling everyone every single day that, my ideal setup on that stock is going to be waiting for the first red day. So towards the close, I think the stock went from 900 to 800 in 10 minutes. It just tanked completely. And the next day it gapped down. So when it gapped down the next day, my plan was literally to wait for the bounce to short it, because that would be a first red day setup. And because the stock ran up like 500-600% in like a month or two, I felt like this was a great opportunity to use a little bit more size than usual, because I thought the risk to reward was there. So I shorted Tesla, and I had, I think it was my first 6-figure day of the year. And then about 2 weeks later, we had all these coronavirus stocks going crazy. You had stocks like APT, Lake, Codex, which is a sector play. So, I mean, if you don't really know what a sector play is, it's kind of when there's a lot of hype around a specific news, media, something. So some previous examples of sector plays are body cameras. When there was a lot of police shootings happening, companies like DGLY and ISNS went parabolic. They went straight down. The marijuana bubble, shit like GBTC, IGC, NBEV went straight up, and then they went straight down. More recently is Bitcoin. All that stuff happened too. What else is there? And now we're at coronavirus. So this is kind of like a pattern that unfolds time and time again. It happens maybe once or twice a year. And these are the times that you can make a shitload of money if you time it correctly. So after my Tesla trade, I was a little bit confident. I felt very good. And 2 weeks later, these stocks were setting up. The same exact setup that I took on Tesla at the first red day is the same setup I took on these coronavirus stocks, which also yielded to, I think it was like 90K in like 2 days. So in about a month's time, I made around $200,000. And here we are, a week later after that. And, the other day I just made $300. So that's what people don't really understand. It's like, you're not going to be making 10, 20, 30, 40, 50K a day. But when the opportunity is there, you have to capitalize it. And every single other day is just a normal day at the office. I mean, the way that I describe it to people that they really understand is that every single day-to-day trading is like you're at the gym practicing, or it's a regular season game, right? But when these sector plays come up, when these big opportunities come up like Tesla or coronavirus, that's the Super Bowl. So every single day when you are playing your regular season games, you are practicing and prepping and getting yourself ready for when the Super Bowl comes so that you could perform. And, after 6 years of trading, man, I feel like I've seen this shit over and over again. The first 2-3 years, I missed some big sector plays. But now, as I've been kind of growing and evolving as a trader, I've been taking more and more advantage of it. And the worst part is, man, I covered these stocks, and had I just waited like, I don't know, another 2 weeks, I would have made double or triple the amount of money. So I'm still getting better, man. I'm still trying. I'm still getting better.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Congratulations, by the way, dude. That's so
Yeah.
sick. And you know
Knock
what's
on wood, bro. Knock on
yeah,
fucking wood.
yeah,
The
yeah. I
fucking
know. Yeah, I know what you mean there. It's and you means that because like usually after we get overconfident in trading, sometimes that could bite us in the ass. It really
Oh, of
can't.
course, man.
Really
Of
can't. So
course.
I get what you're saying there. Now, one thing that I kind of came to mind is for 6 years you've been trading and you've kind of seen this happen again and again.
Yeah.
So you always hear this thought of people saying, "Here's a setup. I see it over and over," and then you have other side of people saying, just work that setup until it doesn't work anymore and then find something else. So like
Correct.
in my point of view, I've been trading as long as you have, but I've been trading for about 3 years. And what I've noticed is these setups, at least mine, have not changed. So I don't know. Are you saying like, what's your opinion on that? Do they change? Because you have one side who says setups always change. There's always changing. And then you have another side that says, no, these setups always stay the same.
I think it's twofold, right? So something that's changed, I guess, from when I first started trading is how much fucking algos and robotic trading came into small caps. Because if you think about it logically, these big funds, these big algos, these big guys, they need billions and billions and billions of dollars to move companies like Apple and Facebook. But with just $5 or $10 million, these guys could buy up these small caps and jam it up to the moon. So I think they've started to wise up, and there's been a lot more algorithmic trading. The way that you could tell is if the volume on these stocks is going like astronomical. Like I have my charts right here, but
Yeah.
I think Codex, the day that it went parabolic, traded 82 million shares of a fucking $20, $15, $20 stock. And that's not human. That's not all human volume. That's robots playing ping pong with each other. You know what I'm saying? They're playing ping pong back and forth with each other. So I think algorithmic trading has become a big part of small caps these days. But as for setups changing, you're always going to have these sector plays. You're always going to have these pump and dump plays. You're always going to have these garbage stocks going up higher than they should. The only difference, I think, is that more amateur types of traders get stuck early and cause even more dramatic moves higher for, I guess, smarter or more experienced traders to take advantage of.
So like they'll learn the basics of the setup and then they get anticipated. And so they jump in, they make the
Correct.
setup kind of go a little further or whatever it may be. Because, what I've noticed is like when I'm trading something, I have like 2 or 3 setups I only trade, and you start to notice little differences, right? You start to notice little
Correct.
differences over time. Overall, the big picture is the same, but like the trade within itself maybe has a little fake out, and you start to notice have you noticed like lately, we've been having a lot of pop and drops and then spikes and then fell, like complete
Correct.
disaster. It's like that's been a huge change in the market and what I've noticed with my setup. And so it's just interesting that it kind of just evolves over time. Would you say, like in terms of the big picture stays the same? And I'm understanding that correctly, but the intraday kind
Correct.
of changes?
Exactly. There's always going to be these big squeezing stocks. There's always going to be stocks that go further than they should. There's always going to be stocks that are overvalued. But at the end of the day, the way that you trade them, I mean, I have like some of my favorite setups, like the first red day setup has been paying off really well for us in this market lately. So I'm sure that's going to evolve eventually. I don't know what it's going to evolve into, but that same setup of these sector plays going crazy, they already happen 1 or 2 times a year anyway. So like, I think it's just a matter of how much the media is hyping this shit up too, because now everyone's worried about coronavirus. There's like, there's people rating Costco for Clorox. There's people rating it for Kleenex. Like I have 5 or 6 hand sanitizers at my house that I got as gifts because people are like worried and shit. So, I mean, it is still very prominent in the media. Everyone is still talking about it. And that's why some of these coronavirus stocks, although they did tank, they're still finding some ways to bounce. And I'm all over all these bounces, every single
So
one of them.
we're just curious, you're very open about, I mean, you share, if anyone doesn't follow you on Instagram, they should, because you do live and you share
Yeah,
about like your thoughts after the end of the trading day, which is very
correct.
valuable. And you're very open about your strategy, which is awesome. I mean, like, I love that openness. That's something I'm all about. And so what I'm curious about is, what's your thoughts on people so worried about talking about, oh, I short the first red day? Like, you know how people are sometimes thinking if everyone knows it, then it won't work anymore. What's your thought on that?
Correct. Correct. I think that's definitely true. I think the more people that do the same thing, it tends to not work. But what I've learned is that even so, just kind of backtrack from what you're saying. So every day, I mean, every Monday, what I do is I trade until 10:30 in the morning. And then at 11 o'clock, I do a YouTube live recap of my trades of the morning because I feel like the best way to understand some of these stocks and some of the ways that I trade is to immediately have me recap it after we've all been watching price action the entire morning. So we watch price action, we trade it, and then I recap it immediately after, so it's still fresh in your head. So what I've noticed is, just truth be told, is that no matter even if I give my strategy away or if I talk about it, people have a very short attention span. They don't really listen. So let's say there's 5,000 people that are watching the video. Out of those 5,000 people, probably 100 people are going to listen. And out of those 100 people that listen, probably 20 of them are actually going to understand the strategy and actually put in the work to reverse engineer or understand it. So for me, I provide as much value as I can for free, knowing that I know 99% aren't going to listen anyway. But for those 1% that listen, there's a very good value proposition for them.
That makes sense. And then out of those 20, there's probably only one who could be disciplined enough to actually
Correct.
trade it
Or
well.
one that actually understands that you have to, it's not going to happen in a month. It's not going to happen in a day. I mean, the best example that I give people is that, as traders, we can make more than doctors and lawyers and engineers, right? A doctor goes to school for 8 years. A lawyer goes to school for fucking 6 or 8 years. Engineer goes to school for the same amount of time. Yet, you as a trader think that by learning for 1 month or 2 months that you're going to make this much money, even if you devote 1 year of your life to trading, that might be all that you need to fucking out make more money than all these guys combined. But the problem is people don't even want to put in a year of work. They want to put in a month of work. And if they don't see the results, they say it's not for them. After 6 years of doing this, I know that I am still starting and I know that I still have so much more potential to do even more. And I just go back to the same thing. It's like, damn, like these doctors, they go to school for 8 years. They work in a hospital for fucking 15 hours a day. We are blessed enough to be, if you do it right, to trade for 1 or 2 hours a day. So why not just invest at least a year of your time into your education to make more than all these guys by working fucking 10% of the fucking time?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm you said something and it hit a thought for me, but I think it was whenever you said you're growing, you're constantly growing, and you've been doing this for 6 years. But it's amazing. I've been following for a while, and I noticed that you were with SMB Capital for an
Yeah.
interview, and
Yeah.
they shared that online too, which is a really cool
Yeah.
interview. And so, what are you working on now? Like, what is challenging for you? Like, what is your goal? What do you find challenging at your age, at like your stage in your career?
Sure.
And what are you trying to overcome right now to grow even more?
Sure. I mean, I think it always goes back to the same thing. I mean, the way to fix your problems in trading is to be honest with yourself, right? Like, I have many flaws as a trader. Number one is with all this money and all this success, I am still so fucking greedy, dude. I don't know what it is. I don't know what happens. Like, just something in my body just like gets a hold of me and I just start being greedy. So, a big issue for me has been trading very well in the morning, only to be gambling away my gains during lunchtime and midday because I'm bored, because I feel like I didn't make enough money. But it's also so stupid because, like, if I'm up $700 on a day, I say, why isn't it 1,000? Click some buttons and then I would lose money. Or if I'm up $10,000 on the day, why is it not 20,000? Or if I'm up 200, why is it not 400? So that mentality is toxic. So I've been actually working to fix that. And I mean, a big rule that we have that is the zombie rule. So every day at 10:30, I cut off my trading no matter what. And that has actually yielded to me, even if I want to be greedy, even if I want to do something wrong, I've chained up. I can't do anything. And that's kind of been saving me a bunch of times because there's been so many times that, In the past, I've made $1,000 by 10 o'clock in the morning, and then by noon, I'm down $500 on the day because $1,000 wasn't enough for me, which is stupid. So I'm trying to control my greed these days. Discipline has been very important. I'm a very disciplined person, but yet I still do get sloppy. It usually does happen after a win streak, right? So after you make a bunch of money or after you want a consistent win streak, you get sloppy because you feel invincible. So I'm still trying to battle that. So what I've been doing to kind of combat that is, after I made all that money on Tesla, the next day I wired out 100K. After I made all that money on coronavirus, I wired out 90K, put it in my bank. So what I've been doing is I've been trying to reduce my account size after big winners so that I don't see a big balance on the screen, which yields me to be undisciplined.
That makes sense, man. That's a good advice. And it's really interesting because no matter where you're at in your career, those challenges that we face now, like where I'm at, are still challenges you're going to face now. You're right. Correct. It's a challenge that's going to stay with you, and it's just more of what are you doing to control that, or what are you doing as rules? And in this case, the zombie rule, which is a badass rule, by the way. It's so funny to me.
It's crazy.
Because at first I was like, what is this shit? And then I was like trading, and I was like, oh my god! Every time if I just take profits before 10:30, I'll be good to go. And
and that's what a lot of people at MIC are doing, right? There's a lot of short bias and a lot of long bias traders in MIC. The short bias traders make their money till 10:30, and then the long bias traders come out of their caves and they start going long from 10:30 to 2, and that's how they're making their money. So there's every type of person making all different types of money, but it all depends on, again, the strategies, the timing, and it's all the little minute details that we often overlook that are the most important.
Yeah, man. And what would you say is the most common misbelief in trading, in like when you get traders come to your room, because you have traders in your room all the time, you have hundreds of traders in there. So what is the most, like, when I mean misbelief, I mean they're DMing you, asking you this question that they feel like could solve their problem. What is that common misbelief you have seen, at least?
Wow. So it depends on the people, right? It depends on the people. So let me give you an example. Some people, they come and they watch the videos for about a month and they say, I'm still not getting it. I'm still not getting it. And I tell them, like, look, you have to really just invest your time. You go to school for 4 years. You go to college for a semester. A semester is what, like 6 months or something like that? So how can you expect to just learn anything in 1 month? So I think a lot of people are scammed by the get rich quick bullshit, the Rolex, Lambo models, all that stuff. So they come in with the wrong mindset. So what our goal is that when you're getting in there, we want to repair your mindset at first and let you realize that this shit is not going to be easy. 90% of traders are going to fail. But if you want to give yourself the best chance of success, you have to surround yourself with successful people. That's number one. Number two, a common problem that I see that a lot of traders struggle with, believe it or not, is they don't use hard stops, right? So there's something called deer in the headlights syndrome, which means that when a stock is going down or when a stock is going against you or when you're getting squeezed or something bad is happening and you know that you should stop out, you just freeze. You have the freeze, and before you know it, that small loss turns into a ginormous loss. So, I mean, we advocate telling everyone to use hard stops. I use hard stops myself, and it's been a game changer. And I've seen that every single member that uses hard stops actually finds consistency faster because they are managing their risk properly, which is yielding to more profits long term. So if I had any advice or anything for people that are watching to know, is that you should be using hard stops religiously. You should be following the zombie rule religiously, and you should be realizing that if you want to make more than a doctor, it's not going to happen in 1 month.
That's right. That's right. And you know what's awesome, man? The hard stops, like there's this, I used to have the belief that, and maybe it's real or not, I don't care if it's true or not. What I do know is some people think you have a hard stop, people can hunt for your hard stops. I think, dude, ever since I've done hard stops, you're right. It literally, that deer in the headlights moment happens. And no matter how disciplined you are, it's gonna it's like inevitable. It's gonna happen,
dude. 20 years. He's been training 20 years and he still struggles with it. So how could someone that's been training for 20 days not struggle?
Good point. And so that saves me. It saves me so much from disaster, really, from disaster. That's really what it saves you from.
It's the best way to say it is this. you have a Ferrari, right? Let's say you have a Ferrari, you have a nice car, you're driving on the highway. If you speed and you get into an accident and you have no airbag or seatbelt, you're dead.
Yep.
It's the same thing with trading. Imagine hard stops being your airbag and your seatbelt. They are there to protect you. They are not there to hurt you. So that's the way that you have to think about it.
And for those who don't know, because we just throw out the zombie rule or zombie word out, you want to give a quick explanation?
Yeah. So what I've noticed about so let me backtrack to how this rule started, right? So me and Bao have been trading for a very long time together. Back maybe 2 or 3 years ago, there was something called all-day faders, which is like you short a stock at fucking 9:30 in the morning, and at 4 o'clock you cover it, just goes straight down. But as the algos and as more people got involved, that doesn't happen anymore. What tends to happen is after 10:30 at lunchtime, when the volume shrinks, these algos take control and start squeezing these stocks. And that's what we call the zombie rule, because the stock is dead. It comes back to life from these algos, right? And, we have videos on this. I think, so I'm just going to plug our YouTube channel. We have, it's youtube.com/myinvestingclub. We have 600 free videos there, and it explains the zombie rule, the first bounce pattern, the first red day pattern. So if any of these terms are kind of like Chinese to you, you could check out our YouTube videos. You could DM me, and I'm more than willing to help out.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't checked them out, you should, because they have some great content out there. It's totally for free. And one thing that really impressed me, man, with you guys is whenever I joined MIC, within like a week, I don't know when it happened, but it was within the first week, I got a DM from one of the moderators just saying, and I think it was, I just can't remember which one, but I talked to multiple, where they were just like, hey, do you want to have a quick call? And I was like, wait a minute, what's happening?
So we do mentorship phone calls. So we have some of the best traders in the industry who literally get on the phone with you for free, just to kind of mentor you and talk about your charts and see how we could help you. And that's literally every single day.
Yeah, and that's wild, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And you guys have some great traders that I respect, and obviously you and Bao. But and what's really cool about seeing you and Bao and all those different traders is you guys all trade different. Y'all pretty much all trade different. I mean, you might be trading the same move maybe, or maybe the same ticker, but maybe completely different. Like you have different charts.
Exactly. So that's kind of, it all goes back to this as well, is that trading is based on your own personality, right? So for me, I like doing the least amount to make the most amount of money. So for me, I just focus on trading 1 or 2 stocks at the same time, because I just can't focus on more than 1 or 2 at the same time. I just can't do it. Whereas Bao trades 15 to 20 stocks at the same time. So although he's making less money per trade, it's all adding up. Whereas I'm making more money on less trades, if that makes sense. And that's just based on our own personalities. Bao is a control freak. He likes to be in every single stock. I like to just go in and out as fast as I can, because I know the longer I stay, the more chance I have of losing. Yeah,
man. And I'm curious. So whenever you went back, let me take you back into whenever you first, I think, you met Brett Steenbarger too, right?
Yeah, he was my trading coach for about maybe a year.
What was that like?
Bro, he's amazing, man. Because the way that his sessions work is like, he's working with the top hedge funds and top prop firms in the world. He has stories of working with traders for Paul Tudor Jones, these guys that have $100 million accounts that they trade with. So all the problems and all of the concerns that I come to him with, he gives me real life examples of traders at higher levels than me, of what they're doing to kind of fix their problems and what I could do for that. So Brett is very stat oriented. So like we look at our stats all the time. We look at what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and then we come up with a plan together to fix that. And it's actually funny, because when we looked at our stats, I saw that I was losing money consistently after 11 a.m. So that's the zombie rule kind of also helped me stay more disciplined, because I said, damn, if I'm losing money after 11 a.m. consistently, and all I have to do is follow the zombie rule, I'm just going to cut myself off after 10:30, 11, and that's going to yield to more P&L. Or we saw that I was making most of my money on stocks ranging from $1 to $10, and anytime a stock was usually over $10, I would lose money. So now anytime I trade a stock over $10, it's not as much size as these smaller companies. And that's, again, all stat oriented, looking at what's been working, what's not been working. And shit, man, when I stick to what's been working, I have like a 78 or 80% win rate, which is unbelievable.
Which is awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned something that was really interesting to me is because he coaches traders that if you don't know who Paul Tudor Jones is, go read a book about trading because you need to know who that is. But these are huge traders. I'm talking about just
Correct.
ridiculous size. And you say he helps them with their challenges. Can you remember any of those challenges, or were they the same challenges we're
I
dealing with
remember
now?
one that
Or
really stuck out. I remember one that really stuck out. So this guy was making a shitload of money, um, and he ended up getting divorced, right? He ended up getting divorced, and he went to Tudor, and he said, I'm getting a divorce, like this and that. And Tudor's like, look, you're forced to take a month off from trading. And he's like, what the hell do you mean take a month off? I can't do, I'll die with it if I take a month off. He's like, look, your mind is not right. You are not in the proper emotional mindset to be trading. You will thank me later. Just take the time off and get your shit together and come back after. So that's something that we actually preach to our members as well, is that if you have a fight with your girlfriend, if you're fighting with your parents, if you had a death in the family, God forbid, just take the fucking day off, bro. Just take the day off, because what you're going to do is you're going to be so emotional. You're going to trade purely based on emotions, and you're going to end up losing money and getting even more upset. Whereas taking a day or two off really isn't going to hurt you. And if a professional trader that manages $100 million is doing this shit, you're managing $1,000, bro. Get the fuck out of there for a day,
yeah,
Right?
no, yeah, absolutely. I'm laughing because it was so hard for me to do that. I don't know. I just did that recently. 2 weeks ago, I took a week off, complete week off, because I was not trading properly. I didn't have a big blow up. I didn't have a big loss. Just could tell I was just
There's too
trading
much
like
shit to deal with, man.
garbage.
I get it
Yeah.
all the time, man. It happens to me too. Like, bro, I fight with my brothers. I fight with my friends. I fight with anyone. Like, I get emotional too, bro. You know what I'm saying? But what I try to do is these days, I try to be more self-aware. I try to, take a second and just pause and realize the type of mindset that I'm in, because I know that, again, I've lost so many times by being emotional that it took those lessons for me to kind of get to this place where I say, hey, I'm not feeling it today. I'm off my game. I'm just going to sit home and just relax just for one day just so that I get my shit together.
So I do want to ask you one thing, and that is, if you could think back to year one for yourself, what was that? Was there one thing that kind of, and I know I hate saying the one thing, 'cause I know trading is a lot of things that really make you successful, make you consistent. But
Uh-huh.
in terms of, for myself, my one thing, I want to say one thing is staying in my lane, trading my own setup. For you, when you were in year one, what was your challenge that really, once you overcame that last challenge, that would really help you kind of go?
Yeah. So I think the problem that I was dealing with when I was first starting is I lacked a process. I lacked a routine that I could repeat. I was just basically showing up to the market, and if a stock was gapping up, I would just be shorting it, and I would just be guessing, and I really wouldn't know what I'm doing. It took me to develop a process of what to do every morning. It's like I wake up very early these days. If a stock is gapping up, now I have to read the filings. I look at the float. I look at the chart. I look at the sentiment. I I I then decide if I'm going to short it or not. And then if I do decide to short it, where is the nearest resistance level? What did it do the last time it ran? How much volume does it have this time? So now I am creating a process, a routine for myself that is repeatable, that I could go back and just plug any stock into and do the same thing all over again. So that's kind of what's been helping me now. And that's kind of what we advocate to people at MIC is the process, right? The process, because you need to be able to wake up and do the same thing every single morning. And after a certain amount of time, it's just like reflex. These days, whenever I see a stock gapping, I already have FinViz open, I have BAM SEC open. I'm already looking at it. I already understand it. And before the guy I'm trading against wakes up, I already have a plan ready.
Yep.
And that's the thing that people have to understand is when you're trading, there's always someone on the opposite side of your trade. And if you have someone like me that is waking up at 5 in the morning and putting in the work every single day, and you wake up at 9 a.m., chances are I'm probably going to be the one that takes your money. So in this game, it is all about outworking your competition. And I think that's what motivates me to keep going, is because I know that if I take one day off from just studying or educating, there's going to be some fucking 20-year-old kid that wants my money. And it's my job to make sure that I conserve it and do the right thing.
Get out of here, son.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here, bro.
Hey, by the way, So before we wrap this up, I did want to ask you, if you let's look in the future. Let's say 10 years down the road. Let's say you have a kid, and your
I'm
son.
terrified, bro. I'm terrified of that shit.
Let's say he goes, he or she, it doesn't matter, but let's say they go, Dad, I really like what you do. What would you do? What advice would you give them to
I would
get
say go find an easier job. This job's too tough. Honestly, I would tell them, because here's the thing: it depends, right? Because people are very driven by money, right? And I was driven by money when I first started. Because look, I mean, I see all the Wall Street movies. I see these guys in the suits and the cars and the watches and shit like that. And after having all that stuff, I kind of realized that like it gets boring. Like it doesn't really do anything for me anymore. So I mean, something that you have to understand whenever you're getting into any business or any career or any job is ask yourself, do you love it, right? Do you love it? And for me, I know that I love it because there's never 5 minutes that I'm never checking my phone for quotes. There's never a day that I'm not watching some sort of trading video. There's never a day that I could go without talking about trading. So I really love it. And if you don't love it, when the drawdowns happen, you're going to want to quit, right? As soon as the drawdowns happen, as soon as you start losing money, you're going to want to quit because you think it's not for you. But what my advice is, if you do really love it and you really do think that you can do it, you have to be able to be real with yourself and say, all right, I'm willing to take the kicks in the face until I get it right. I'm willing to eat shit. But if you don't love it, you shouldn't get into it just because of the money, because honestly, just put fucking your chips on black on roulette or something, and you have an easier, less stress-free way of trading. But if you put in the work and you actually study for a year, then you will live the next fucking 30 years for free. Yeah, it doesn't. For me, that when I tell people that, they're like, oh, okay, now I get it. But at the end of the day, again, it goes back to the first thing we talked about, which is we put out the information and 99% of people don't fucking listen. And that's an edge for us because not only am I providing value to people, but I know that they're not going to listen, so it's not going to hurt me anyway. So I challenge everyone who's watching this stuff to actually go in, put in the work, watch the videos, and don't be discouraged if you don't get it after 1 month, because I haven't met any person that gets it after 1 month. There's people that get it after 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. There's someone that I know named Nico that took him 7 years to make it, and now he makes over 6 figures a year trading. You know what I'm saying? So like, it all goes back to the same thing. Do you love it? Do you love it enough, like Nico, to lose money for 7 years until you get it? And that's the thing that you have to ask yourself. You know?
Is that Nico that I know too? The 7 points.
7 points. So yeah,
Man,
Nico
I love
used
that guy.
He
used to be an MIC.
Nico used to be an MIC moderator.
Yeah.
Found so much success that 7 points approached him and gave him his own firm in
Los Angeles. Oh, is San Diego? It's in California. So
California, yeah. So now, after 7 years of grinding and working his ass off, he now has something that's eternal, you know?
Yeah, it's awesome.
He deserves it, man. He's a great dude, man. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's a great dude. I love him too. And what's awesome about you guys is just, I know we've been plugging y'all, but I mean, I like y'all's product. I like what y'all teach. I like how y'all coach. And one thing is y'all have tons of content for the members too. And you can even watch all of Nico's old content too, which is,
we have a bunch of videos
such valuable.
Exactly. So like, that's the thing that people don't understand is like, we post a new video every single day. Member only video. We post like small trailers on YouTube and stuff like that. Give me a sec. My phone is, I think, bugging out. We post like trailers every single day on YouTube, just like shortened versions of the full length videos for members. And again, all the information that we talk about, we try to give as much information for free. But again, if you want that one-on-one mentorship, like the phone calls, the webinars, like we actually have so I guess I'll just explain our content schedule for people that don't know. So every Monday, I do a YouTube live. Every Tuesday, Bao does an Instagram live. And then at Tuesday night, we do a large cap webinar. Every Wednesday, we do a new member webinar. Every Thursday, we do a strategy webinar. Friday is a live trading video. Saturday is a Q&A. And then Sunday, we release new episodes of our trading DVDs. So we have a lot of content because at the end of the day, you learn by repetition. So the more and more things you watch, it's like you watch Inception, right? The first time you watch Inception or Interstellar, you missed a lot of details. But after watching it a couple times, you start to pick up on these things. And that's kind of the thing that we're looking for is that so after you watch these things over and over again, you're going to understand all the details.
Absolutely. So, hey, if you haven't heard already, definitely reach out to them. Definitely reach out to Alex. Alex, what's your tag on Twitter?
Yeah, so Twitter is AT09_trader. Instagram is Alex_Temiz, Temiz. And actually, we do something that's really unique to us is that if you have like any questions about trading or any questions about MIC, one of our head mentors, Tosh, he actually released his phone number to the public. So you could actually text him at 213-458-5997. It's actually him on the other side of the phone. It's not a robot or like a gypsy or anything like that. So if you have any questions, just hit him up on his text and he'll just get back to you. Could be about anything.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks, Alex, so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Give me some time.
Of course, man. Can't wait to see who you bring on for episode 100.